To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Oh, it's the Wild Wild West now. That's for sure. Happy Hump Day. Good morning on a Wednesday. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. Guys, I got 4 words.
Yeah.
4 words for you.
That would be?
It just got interesting.
Okay.
What happened last night at Oracle? Whole new ball game, baby. Not only in the West, but also in the East as we go forward and see what happens through the rest of these NBA playoffs.
I think as far as Houston and Golden State, it just proves that we don't know anything. I mean, we all...
Mike,
yeah.
I'd like to just say that was a given.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Everybody had Golden State in this one. Everybody knew Houston was playing for their lives in this one and didn't think Golden State was going to give one away on their home court. I mean, wow. But I'm happy we got a game. Even though we saw each individual quarter just be dominated, that was the most bizarre thing. Each individual quarter dominated by one team then the other, one team then the other. And the big one obviously being the fourth quarter where Golden State just scored. Whatever say Golden State's going to score 12 points in a quarter and it's the fourth quarter blows my mind. That game, there were so many twists and turns in that game right from the beginning. I heard you described it, and I thought about it, and it was right. 2 drunks in a fight, right? Right outside a bar.
You walk outside at closing time and you see 2 guys and it's not going to look pretty.
Yep.
Everyone's going to get big shots in, and you think at one point you watched each guy get to the point where he can't possibly come back, and at the end of the day they're still swinging because it wasn't pretty. The Rockets muddied this one up, but at the end of the day now they've created doubt, and it's awesome.
It really was. I mean, it was one of those, it was an ugly fight, but you couldn't take your eyes off it. You're like, oh my God, I got to keep watching this thing. It's just so ugly.
Having heard that description now, the
really
only 2
good.
things I can think of are 2 of my favorite Twitter accounts that I follow, the Darwin Awards and Only in Russia, because half of those are drunk fights normally in Russia where everybody's staggering around a little bit, but now that's the only thing that's in my mind.
Russia,
the only thing.
Russia, the Florida of the rest of the globe.
I mean, and the thing about it is everybody has a different view of a game. I was looking through Twitter this morning, and I saw one that was addressed to you and me, Mike, and to the NBA. This dude, Scott, tweets, "The NBA is the most blatantly rigged and predictable organization there is. There's more mystery in pro wrestling. No wonder they want to cut of the gambling profits. It's hush money." I mean, but it just goes to show that everybody can watch the exact same thing and take away different things. It's just like when you watch a replay of something, 2 people can be watching it together and you see different things. We're looking at this drunk fight, battle, ugly game, but man, you couldn't take your eyes off it. And another person's looking at it and going, oh my God, it's the most fixed thing out there. It's just unbelievable.
Are you telling me that Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals is the sports equivalent of Yanni versus Laurel?
There you go.
Is that what you're telling me? It's the white and gold dress or the blue and black dress? Mm-hmm. That's where we are. Unbelievable. So we got a lot to get to with that game. We got Game 5 tonight.
Yes, we do.
Between the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Critical. We've got some really interesting things coming out of the NFL. A lot to discuss. A huge injury for one team that a lot of people think may be a real playoff contender this year. We got a lot to get through, so let's start now with what's trending, and we'll begin with the Yanni Laurel drunk Russian fight outside a bar, as you two described it perfectly. The Rockets beat the Warriors 95-92 to even the Western Conference Finals at 2 games apiece. It was simultaneously the Rockets' first ever playoff win in Golden State. They had been 0-7, and also snapped the Warriors' 16-game home playoff streak, which was the longest in NBA history.
Listen, there's so many numbers associated with this, and we'll get to them. To me, the beginning of this game was 12-zip. All the starters for Golden State scored before anybody scored for Houston. It should have been 20-0. And how frustrated was Steve Kerr being up only 12-zip? It's when Houston got their first basket and made it 12-2. Kerr called the timeout. Steve Kerr called the timeout. Houston got a layup in their first 2 points. Kerr calls the timeouts. It really should have been 20-0 or more in the beginning of that game. It was ridiculous how it started, and then do nothing but tip your cap to what Houston did the rest of the way, not just offensively, but Mike, defensively as well. And we're going to sit here and talk about it was a record for 4 Golden State players for the amount of minutes they played. You know what? You know what I don't want to hear is that.
Yeah.
Because for Houston, 7 people played, but the 7th one, Gerald Green, only played under 12 minutes. This was 6 men, 6 players beat Golden State last night. It was unreal.
In a fist fight.
Yeah.
And early on, you talked about some of the conspiracy theorists coming out. I was right there with him, watching James Harden pass up the most wide open
The
three.
most open wide three he'll ever have in his entire life.
What was he doing?
He stood there for 5 minutes, watched Steph Curry fall down, checked to make sure his tax return had come back, and then decided to pass up that shot. And I figured in that moment in time,
it's over.
They were punting on this game. Not long later, after he had dunked Draymond Green into last week, I quickly realized that this game might go in a few different directions.
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought not only did he get his tax returns, he got a tattoo, had a quick jog, came back, and then passed up that 3-point.
And his beard grew another inch.
It was unbelievable. Speaking of three-pointers, Golden State was 3 of 18, including three-pointers in the fourth quarter. Their worst shooting quarter of the season, regular or playoffs. The Warriors, 4 All-Stars combined to just shoot 2 of 16 from the floor and 0 of 6 from 3. We are confident now that we have got a series in the West, and our confidence theme is brought to you by National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidence. And as we said, we got Game 5 tonight in Boston. Cavaliers face the Celtics with the series tied at 2, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Radio. It's back in Boston where, again, the Celtics have not lost this postseason, 9-0.
Yeah, I'm obviously looking so forward to this game. LeBron James 0-3 in his career in Game 5s of a series tied 2-2 against the Celtics, 08, 2010, 2012.
Say that again?
Yeah, LeBron James is 0-3 in his career in Game 5s of a series tied 2-2 against the Celtics.
That sounds like a
second
special stat.
And means basically nothing because it was 2008, 2010, 2012, and look at this team of 19-year-olds for the Celtics right now.
And he was on a different team.
Yeah.
LeBron was.
So you look at those stats and you're like, okay, what does that really mean? But man, this is the game. Momentum, pressure, whatever we were talking about yesterday is all going to be how we know how it is, how LeBron comes out, how they can work defensively against him, and what other Cavaliers can get hot tonight.
It becomes so interesting to me because as the more and more of those stats that pop up, the more and more you're reminded it's been a long time since we've seen LeBron James suffer in the hands of a lot of these situations. He's got that level of mastery that comes. I heard Chris Paul talk last night a lot about learning from the past in this league. LeBron James has learned on the biggest stages this game has offered. So the further you get in this series, the more our confidence tends to build in him.
And then the question becomes, if somehow the Cavaliers win tonight, is there any way Boston responds going back to Cleveland?
Boy,
that's the interesting thing because they are Jackie McMullen. We had her on last week, and she's made it pretty clear, and it's pretty obvious what a different team the Celtics are, home versus road, in this postseason. Again, that's tonight. We'll have a lot more on that game coming up just a little bit later. Meanwhile, in the NHL, for the 4th straight year, the Eastern Conference Finals will go to a Game 7. This time between the Caps and the Lightning at 8. The Lightning are 5-2 in Game 7s, the best such record in NHL history. And, Mike, the Caps are the opposite of that.
Yeah, they're not good at all. Here's some things to look at. Of the 171 all-time Game 7s in Stanley Cup playoffs, the team that scores first is going to win 75% of the time. Home team owns a 58% advantage in this, or 171. And 41 have required overtime. Let's just say it. That's what we're all hoping for. But as far as these two teams, the Lightning have allowed an average of 0.7 goals per game in their seven Game 7s. That's the fewest in NHL history. The Capitals have been shut out 3 times in Game 7. That's tied for the most franchise history in NHL history.
You see where we're going here.
Yeah, it's, look early and see what happens.
This is such an existential crisis because how you want it to go down. Obviously, in an ideal world for Caps fans, you win. But if this is going to go the route it usually goes, how do you want it? I mean, overtime for a Caps fan in Game 7 of the conference finals for the first time with Ovechkin, having your heart ripped out in that, I don't know if you can ever recover. I feel like you just have to break up the party after that. That's a gut punch, the likes of which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, let alone a bunch of Caps fans who we have around the building who I actually tend to like.
Yeah, listen, they've been down this road before. You know, they know what heartbreak is, and yeah, look, they got the chance. They could have folded tent when the series went back to D.C., where they had not been able to do anything in this playoff conference final against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they got the win. So we'll see what happens tonight. Meanwhile, later on today, we'll have Gerard Gallant, the head coach of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, on the show.
Look forward to that.
Which means later on we will,
as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
I'll give you just a couple other quick capital things.
Do it.
Each of the last 6 most recent winner-take-all games in baseball, basketball, hockey, and football for a Washington, D.C. team have resulted in a loss, so that doesn't look good.
Oh, God.
And the last time they were in the finals, the Capitals, was back in June of 1998. Alex Ovechkin was 12 years old.
yeah.
The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica was the number one song.
There it
back
is.
then. And The Truman Show was the number one movie, just for anybody who wanted to know. Yeah. There you go. So it's been a while.
Sports Center anchor Randy Scott, cover your ears.
There you go. And just so we hit the buzzer completely, I'll say that was really interesting. And then horrible news for the Chargers. Tight end Hunter Henry looks like he suffered a season-ending torn ACL during a drill yesterday. He will get a second opinion today, but in all likelihood, it looks like his season is over.
Listen, this is what you see it happen. As I said, it's never good, but man, in OTAs or when you get hurt in training camp or the early in the preseason games, when all your work is going, this is when all the hard work goes on to get ready for a season, and you're doing that hard work, and then when you get an injury that knocks you out for the year, it obviously physically he's going to recover, but mentally it's just so damning on what goes on. He's the guy that took all the targets basically, for Antonio Gates, a guy that's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Antonio Gates wasn't re-signed.
Yeah.
Now Antonio Gates may be re-signed.
They've already reached out, according to Adam Schefter.
So that would not be shocking at all. They signed Virgil Green to a 3-year, over $8 million deal, but he's a blocking tight end. So they're going to need a guy to catch the ball. So obviously he and Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates and Rivers, have a good rapport. So you bring him back. But that's a tough call for Hunter Henry. 36 catches 2 years ago, 45 this year. A guy I know in the fantasy world, I think has been ranked like fourth.
Yeah.
So a guy really, really coming up, and this is a tough one.
I can say, I think Mike, our very own Mike Clay, had him predicted as a guy who would score probably the 10th, as his model predicted, the 10th most touchdowns potentially this upcoming season. So a huge loss for them, and an interesting chance to look at because of the time of year. Like you said, you hate talking about devastating injuries like this in the off season, in the preseason. How can we continue to prevent stuff like this from happening?
You can't.
But are there measures to go? I saw Warren Sharp, who works for Sharp Football Analysis, talking about the way that knee braces in situations like this, because the highest risk for injuries like this come at the beginning of training camps, early on in processes like this. And you wonder if those things can at least help put a dent in this, because you wouldn't like to see it happen all. But I remember in training camp for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2013, one of our other undrafted offensive linemen tore his ACL early on in training camp. Nick Embernati out of San Diego State.
Yeah.
And then not a week later, every one of the rest of the linemen in camp had knee braces on. We didn't have any other issues for the rest of camp. I understand that's not necessarily a correlation causation type thing, but those kind of preventative measures, you see teams like the Patriots who already do this, you wonder if it becomes more common.
Sean Lee for the Cowboys had the same thing happen to him a couple of years ago, tore his ACL just doing a drill at OTAs.
One of the biggest differences you see in college and pro. In college, you guys had to wear knee braces, had to. In the pros, you never see these guys wearing knee braces, but you wonder if you wear them in a preventative way like OTAs, if it can make a difference.
And we'll see what happens going forward with the Chargers again. Hunter Henry getting a second opinion today on that knee, and according to Adam Schefter, they already reached out to legendary tight end Antonio Gates. All right, Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is kind of a big deal. Cover what you've worked so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com. Okay, full disclosure, I watched through the third quarter of that game last night, and I saw the Golden State Warriors do what they always do. Mm-hmm. They come out after halftime and dominate. They were plus 17 in the third quarter. They outscored Houston by 17 points in that third quarter. Again, so now during the playoffs, they are plus 94 in the third quarter. By far the best of any team.
Ridiculous.
So I'm thinking, it's over. It's done. They're at home. They went out there and did what they had to do. And then they lay an absolute egg in the fourth quarter. A lot of it because they ran out of gas. And here's head coach Mike D'Antoni of the Rockets saying, man, we made them do that.
I thought this is the highest level we've ever played defensively, without a doubt, because you're talking about maybe the best offensive team ever, and they got on a roll. Even we're down 12-0. There was some good defense in there to just get us back, because it wasn't like we were lighting it up. to get it back. So just a lot of stops and a lot of tough rebounds and getting loose balls, and they got a little tired in the fourth quarter. And that's because they felt us for 3 quarters. And if we can repeat that, and that's what the formula is, and we'll see if we can do that when we get to Houston.
It sounds so odd to hear him say even when we were down 12-0, we were playing some good defense. But you know what? He's right, because it should have been 20-0 or more. And their defense helped them get out of that. They do a great job of switching, not letting that pick and roll work for Golden State, and they are just right in your face. The improvement they've done for a D'Antoni team, we always think about just offense, no defense. They were playing some defense, with guys like Tucker and Capella. Ariza saying he wanted to guard Kevin Durant in this series. That's want to. How much do we talk about he wanted to guard Kevin Durant? There was a want to on the defensive end to try and slow this team down. And, man, you see that in full force, and especially in that fourth quarter.
But those were the names you expect, and one of the names that got embarrassed last game by Sean Livingston and stepped up big, I thought, was James Harden.
Yeah.
James Harden, who went out and with him and Chris Paul scoring 25-plus each, improved their record on the year to 8-0 when that happens. James Harden played some darn good defense on the perimeter against Steph Curry, who those guys had basically traded turns on opposite ends, isolating one another as the defensive weakling and going at it. And instead, James Harden last night, we've seen the highlights playing a couple of steals in there, good contesting on the perimeter. He was a guy whose effort seemed to dramatically improve.
Yeah, especially, as we said, starting with passing up the widest of wide open threes. Like, in the regular season situation, that was the part where we did the step back three and then stared at whoever that was that he crossed over and made fall there for a while. Totally different dynamic. But as you said, he shoved that off, went hard to the hole, and finished with a game-high 30 points. But as for the idea that the Rockets made the Warriors run out of gas, well, here's Steve Kerr.
Yeah, it definitely played a role. I thought we made that great push in the third, but we weren't really able to make many subs. We were going well, so we didn't want to disrupt our rhythm. But our normal sub pattern obviously was skewed anyway with Andre's absence. But I felt like in the fourth quarter, we just ran out of gas. We scored 12 points. Tried to buy a little bit of rest for our guys, but they just outplayed us in the fourth, and they earned it.
To put a number to that, to wear out in the fourth, now it's skewed a little bit because they had a 10-point lead going into the quarter, and with 10 minutes to go or something, they had a 12-point lead. In the first 3 quarters, they were pushing the ball, running with quick outlets and running 22 times in the first 3 quarters. In the last quarter was just 3 times. Now, again, you had a bigger lead in the beginning of it, so there wasn't, even though if you get the opportunity you do, but they don't do it all the time. But to that point where everybody seems to admit they ran out of gas. And again, you're saying you ran out of gas and you played a team that basically played 6 guys. 4 of the 5 starters for Houston played 40 minutes or more. If anybody should have been running out of gas, it was those guys. They were saying they were going to the bench, and everybody just said, "You're not tired. You're not tired." They were trying to play that mental game
thing.
If you don't
Skin
mind
to win in a cold game in the NFL.
If you don't mind, it don't matter. Get back out there. You're not tired. So I can't stress enough what these guys did. Again, 7 guys played, only 7. But the 7th only played for 11 minutes and 44 seconds. This was a 6-man team and rotation that beat Golden State.
All right, so now let's ask the question then. How much does it change things for you?
Boy, I tell you.
Everything, right? It changes everything. Look, and you can call me guilty of the moment, and I understand all of that. But everybody waited for them to show that they're human. Okay, what's the line from the movie Predator? If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Oh, I go with Drago.
Yeah.
Look at that. He bleeds. He's human.
I mean, we looked at this team in sort of this superstar, superhuman, ethereal plane. Well, they've won 16 straight. Durant and Curry together, they've never had any issues when those two are on the floor. They proved, now you have to play great and they have to play a little sloppy, but they proved it can be done.
It can be done.
I think it not only does this for the West, I think it does for both teams thinking about playing them in the East.
It doesn't change it for me, though, in the West.
I was going to say, are you picking the Rockets now?
Because
not only that, in keeping with the theme that we're going to have coming up today, Warriors in 6 still. Yeah. Book that.
Take the next 2.
Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't ruin Cliff Master Cliff's segment.
I'm just giving you a little later. I'm just giving you a little taste of what's to come.
All I'm saying is, by the way, we have to give a shout out to Mike D'Antoni. He has been doing an unbelievable job getting his team in the right state of mind after every one of these games, either the losses or the wins. And here is D'Antoni trying to get that perspective after the big win last night.
All we did, too, is just get back to even. It's not like, we're all excited. So we're even with them, but at least we're even with them. We didn't go down 3-1. So it was a must game, but we got a lot of work to be done.
He's doing a fantastic
job. He did backtrack on us when he called his team soft.
Yes.
We have that sound we can play as well.
But they were soft in that last game.
Yeah, but he backtracked and says, I was emotional, I was adrenaline flowing, and,
But like Trey said, even his stars agreed in that point.
Yeah,
like there is a level of connection between what we always hear about star players and coaches that allows that message to be heard the right way by this team. They responded the right way, and they're still going to lose in
lots to get to here. Why doesn't Kevin Durant take in that last shot? He's dishing it off to Klay Thompson, and it's a lot of interesting stuff.
Look, say what you want, but belief is a powerful thing, and you have to think right now that the Rockets believe they can beat this team.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Give you an example. With Durant and Curry in the playoffs, the Warriors are 17-2 against every team not named the Rockets. They're 2-2 against Houston at this point. Belief sometimes can do wonderful things when you finally think, hey, we can do this. And the Rockets now think we can do it. All right, when we come back, we know who really deserves the credit for Houston's Game 4 win at Golden State. And we have tracked down their hype man and his inspiration. Plus, surprise, surprise, LeBron agrees with us on something very important.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we've got a bunch coming up a little bit later on. But right now, it is time for the straightest of Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Now, I'm not one to tell someone else how to do their job. Ever, ever, ever. But if I happen to be, or let me not but, however, if I happen to be Stephen A. Smith today, I walk into First Take and I walk into my radio show basically saying this.
You're welcome, Stockholm.
That was Chaz Michaels from Blades of Glory after delivering an unbelievable performance and just looking at the crowd in Sweden and saying, "You're welcome, Stockholm." Because that's what he should be saying to the city of Houston today after clearly the motivation they needed to take down the Warriors in Game 4 came from this.
Houston Rockets, your season is on the line. H-Town, stand up. H-Town, stand up. H-Town, stand up. This is it, baby. This is it. You lose this game, it's over. You are not beating the Golden State Warriors 3 straight. This will not happen to them 2 years after they let LeBron do it to them in the NBA Finals. It will not happen.
A tip of the cap to you.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Let's get it.
There's nothing not entertaining about that.
It's fantastic.
I mean, without it obviously, wasn't the motivating factor.
You don't know that?
No,
absolutely it was.
Are you not sweating right now?
How dare you go down that road?
No, I'm not. I dare to go down that road. It sounds great, though.
It's fantastic.
Delicious. I think it did at one point, he was talking about Houston. He said he hit his knees, put his palms together, and his fingers toward the sky, praying for that. It was the way he puts it is just phenomenal.
You know what? I'm amazed. Like, who in Houston made such an impact on Stephen A. that he has this much of a vested interest?
It seems like there should be a tie there somewhere.
Stephen Stephen A. is a very worldly man. Does his shows from L.A., from New York. Yeah. He's all over the place. He's got a presence everywhere. He's a national treasure, really, around this organization. I don't understand the connection here. This seemed deeply personal, and I'm here for it. Can I have him cut promos like this for me in my personal life? Could you imagine waking up to that every day?
Listen, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He's a marvel in the sense that I, at one point in my life, for 1 second, would like to care about one thing as much as he seems to be able to summon the energy to care about everything.
Yeah, he needs to
It's unbelievable.
He needs to be everybody's voicemail message.
Hype man.
You know?
Could you imagine that, like your morning alarm clock? Like, wake the hell up!
Yeah.
I right out of bed, that might be difficult.
That would be
like on the morning drive-in as a motivational tape.
Yeah.
But if that's the way you sort of burst into consciousness, that would be difficult.
I just imagine he has all of his conversations like that. Like, imagine, listen, you know, he's got a night where he's entertained a female guest potentially, and all of a sudden you're waking up the next morning, you think it's going to be breakfast in bed, and Stephen A. is answering a phone call in the other room. The Houston Rockets.
Yeah. I tell you, it's entertaining. There's no doubt about that. Jarring is a good word.
Yeah.
Jarring is a very good word. And I was a little jarred. I'm not going to lie. That's Kevin Durant not take that last shot.
Well, absolutely.
Kevin Durant, by the way, didn't take a shot in the last, 3 minutes and 27 seconds? I don't even know how that happens. Then again, Golden State just scored 12 points in the fourth quarter.
You mean the penultimate shot? Because remember, the last shot off the final play.
That didn't count. That wouldn't count
for the buzzer. But I'm saying I don't want people thinking you meant take that last shot just because Steph Curry took it. I understand it didn't go in, but you're talking about the one before that he dished off to Klay Thompson.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
But technically that shot never counted because it didn't get off before the buzzer. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I get that, but I mean, just the fact that it wasn't designed for him, I
love the fact that we've driven into semantics about something that doesn't matter.
Bottom line is,
here we go.
Kevin Durant dished the ball off to Klay Thompson.
Let's go back to Kevin Durant, who passed up that thing to pass it off with about 12 seconds left. And by the way, Steve Kerr not taking a timeout there. So here is Kevin Durant on that play that we agree that may or may not have been the final shot.
I raced it down. I was trying to see if I had some options. I seen Klay running along the baseline, and I maybe should have waited till he set his feet, but I just threw a bounce pass and tried to relocate for it. But, man, that's not the reason why we lost the game. I mean, I wish it could have been a better possession at the end, but you know, we got to live with that and move on and be better next game. But, you know, it's the whole game that we got to get better at, and especially in the fourth. I think going up 10, going to the fourth, it was a good opportunity for us to kind of take control, and we didn't. So I definitely wish I had that last play back. So I'm going to watch film and see what my options were, and just hopefully if I'm in that position again, I'll be better.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they get in that position again. But as far as the no timeout, Draymond Green was trying to call timeout.
Yep.
None of the refs he couldn't get the timeout.
Right.
Steve Kerr said he was thinking about a timeout, but he said where the action was, there were no refs looking down his way. So then he was like, but a lot of times I like to keep it going. Kind of like Roy Williams in North Carolina, where you don't call that timeout. You don't let the defensive set. You kind of push the ball, and because you trust your players like that. So I really thought Kevin Durant was taking that shot. And then, I mean, Klay Thompson just got so bottled up, to try and take that fade away. That was surprising. But then again, quite honestly, the fourth quarter was surprising to me.
Well, again, just so the people know the numbers, it was 34-17 that Golden State outscored the Houston Rockets after halftime. And that has been their MO the entire regular season. I think they were plus 372 in the third quarter in the regular season, by far the best in the NBA. Going into last night, they were plus 77 in terms of points scored versus their opponents in the third quarter in the playoffs. That had been the most in the NBA. They upped that to plus 94. Plus 94 after the third quarter last night. And then it goes swinging the complete opposite way, 25-12. Houston in Golden State outscoring the Warriors in that fourth quarter. So what do we make of this? Your biggest takeaway, Mike, is what? That you still think it's the Warriors in 6?
I still think it's the Warriors, but I was surprised how much they flinched. Like you talked about Kevin Durant. What startled me was that started to look like the Cavaliers offense, where it was, all right, we get punched in the mouth in the first portion of the shot clock. 9 seconds left. Kevin Durant makes something happen. And Kevin Durant, for all of his gifts and abilities, isn't the guy that in that moment you can give the ball on the block who's got all the options available that LeBron does in those spots. He's not a dynamic distributor in that way. He's a great scorer, but he's a great scorer within the body of that offense. So I thought the biggest takeaway was how much Houston how much Houston took Golden State out of their offense.
The biggest takeaway for me, and for years and years on talking about any sport, I love bringing up the mental part. And that, to me, was last night. I'll say it again. You can talk about the Golden State Warrior players that set a postseason record for the minutes they played in a game. Houston did this with 6 players. Again, 7 played, but Gerald Green only played under 12 minutes. These guys did it with 6 players. These guys took down Golden State with 6 players. These guys were down 10 going into the fourth quarter, down 12 at one point with 6 players. They were on the sideline, people telling them, you're not tired, play through it. They played great defense. Yeah. I mean, I can't say enough about the mental side of, you know what, if you want to do it and you want to get it done, you can. They beat Golden State with 6 players. And I do not think they'll win this series. I think Golden State will win this series, but I can't help but do nothing but tip my cap to what that effort was last night.
So we had the great debate yesterday on the show. The pressure's on them. The pressure's on them. No, it's not. It's on both of us. I think the pressure is squarely now on Golden State, is it not?
Going back to Houston?
Yes.
Well,
I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I mean, their invincibility, their shield, their infinity stone was we don't lose at home. And guess what? They have been proven they can lose at home. They can be beaten at home. So all that Mike D'Antoni, Steve Kerr, pressure here, pressure there thing, pressure squarely on Golden State going back to Houston now at this point, right?
Oh, I got to believe so, yeah.
Squarely on it. The difference is they can handle it.
Yeah.
That's the exact right. But the pressure is now on Golden State to prove they are who we thought they were. And they let them off the hook. And that is Straight Talk. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up, your chance to play Pinehurst with us or really disgrace Pinehurst with us, which is probably what's going to happen. Plus, we'll tell you why LeBron is finally on our side on a vital issue that is destroying America.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Golic and Wingo Leadership Retreat. Woo! We are running out of days, people. You have 3 days left, count them 3, to find a way to join us at our hands-off town meeting, whatever. It's a scam to play golf at Pinehurst, and you still have 3 days to try and enter and join us.
For those looking for the official name, it's Golic and Wingo Offsite All-Hands Town Hall Leadership Retreat Strategy Session Golf Tournament.
Sure.
Okay. And what you have to do is you just have to tweet. And if you tweet well enough, you're going to get a 3-day, 2-night trip to Pinehurst Resort in North Carolina, round-trip airfare, hotel, premium accommodations at Pinehurst Resort, meals, swag from ESPN, golf stuff. It is going to be fantastic. It is June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, so make sure you have those dates open. And here's what you need to do. We're going to have 4 winners. You need to tweet us, at Golic and Wingo. Okay, so you got to follow us. Tweet to at Golic and Wingo, hashtag it, Golf with GW Contest. Whatever you think works, because you get 1 entry. Tweet, picture, video, whatever you think is going to get you to be one of 4 winners.
But make it good.
If you are a winner, you get to bring 2 friends. And that's up to you who you want to bring. 2 friends. So there's 3 of you coming in each group, and we will fill out the foursomes. Trey with 1, me with 1, Mike with 1, and Stu Gotts at this point
maybe
with 1.
If there's
Jason
time.
Fitch is trying really hard to get into this, but all I've learned is I need to lock my office door since he's breaking into it. So you have it until Friday. Make it your best tweet, gang, at Golic and Wingo, hashtag at Golf with GW Contest. We're going to be at Pinehurst, playing Pinehurst number 2, one of the great golf courses in the U.S. of A. You are going to get to golf that. We are going to have an absolute ball. We'll learn about leadership, blah, 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 blah. We'll have a good time.
I promise I'll have something ready leadership-wise. It usually comes to me. Drunken Recall is a pretty strong trait of mine, so it'll all come back once we're properly lubricated.
Whoa. While you and your teams are out there having a blast on the course, don't forget to build that team with a little 2 truths and a lie. Why don't we get that cooking, huh?
Well, the 2 truths and a lie are your scorecards and mine.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what that's
without question.
Be. Those are 2 truths and a lie.
I've never played a round of golf without an eraser on my pencil.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking
about?
about?
Have you ever played 2 truths and a lie? It seemed like a foreign concept to you for a second.
No, I've never played that game at all. I didn't know what that game was.
There we go. New segment idea coming up next week. We'll have it turned around by then.
Don't worry. When I say that,
and a lie.
Book it.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Hey.
Book it. We'll get to that later. Okay, so that's it. Again, you're running out of days, ladies and gentlemen. But finally, can we just say that we were on the right side of history?
Yes.
Because King James agrees with us.
This is awesome.
The NBA has implemented a system that can track a player's every move.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to Athletics' Jason Lloyd, nobody in the Eastern Conference Finals is running the court slower than LeBron James. But the Cleveland Cavaliers superstar doesn't buy into the advanced stat. That's the dumbest bleep I've ever heard, said James. That tracking bull bleep can kiss my bleep. The slowest guy, get out of here. Lloyd notes that James entered Monday night's game with an average speed of 3.64 miles per hour through the first 3 showdowns against the Boston Celtics and 3.73 for the postseason as a whole. Tell them, James said, to track how tired I am after the game. Track that bleep. I'm number 1 in the NBA on how tired I am after that game.
I love the fact he's dissing this because I would diss it too. You know what? If you could be LeBron and have that set, I'll take that one all day. I mean, I'm stunned at that. I know we track everything. We tracked miles run, and it was C.J. McCollum who had the most, and it was Carmelo Anthony had the least. But LeBron, could you imagine knowing what you've done this year and then looking at that saying, yeah, you're the slowest player in the league?
Yeah, this is it. So you go to LeBron James. Hey, LeBron, you're 6'8", you're 250 pounds, you're averaging 34 points, 9 boards, and 9 assists during the playoffs, yet you're the slowest guy out there. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so we were all fine to take shots at Melo now. But when it comes to LeBron James, he's off limits from the numbers that tell the truth.
Well, let's look at it this way.
That's true.
No, it's not true at all.
Yeah,
Call me when Carmelo was doing this.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, so you're letting something completely unrelated skew your view of what
the fact
is
that he's the best player in the league?
Yeah,
yeah.
That can still he can be the best player in the league and still be the slowest guy on the court.
Yeah, which means nothing.
You're right. He can, which proves how fast you are is irrelevant in what this stat translates into.
That's fine,
but
you guys are getting mad at a stat for just telling the story it was asked to tell.
It's a dumb stat.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's dumb.
And let's be honest. What does Brian Windhorst said? What was that great column he had earlier? Hey, LeBron James has found ways to rest in games. Right. So that probably contributes to the fact that he's averaging.
That's actually better than the stat. Is he's finding a way to save his energy during the game, and he has to end up being the slowest now because of that.
Oh, I understand. All of this stuff is true. All of this context is important. LeBron James' game is very isolation-based at times. He'll sit on that block. All the stuff that makes sense, and this doesn't include the top-end speed. This is the average speed and all this, but you guys are just getting mad at numbers for being numbers. You guys and LeBron, crotchety old men.
It's a dumb stat.
We're not mad at numbers. We're mad at trying to say that this thing is an actual impact on his play when clearly his play proves it is not at all.
It's a dumb stat.
Yes, it is. All right, coming up next, new rules that we'll talk about, and maybe some more new rules ahead. That's when you come back. Stay.
Dumb stat. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Golic and Wingo with you on a Wednesday morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Glad you're with us. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. That, of course, is AO Technology by Justin Timberlake and 50 Cent. And songs like that are featured on our Amazon Music playlist, the simplest way to listen to the music you love. New customers, start your 30-day free trial at AmazonMusic.com. Renews automatically, cancels anytime. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you on what was the reaction continues to come in from what was an epic night.
Yeah, it was.
In Game 4 for the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. The longest playoff home winning streak in NBA history is over. And what it took to end it was the first ever playoff win by Houston in Golden State. They had been 0-7 lifetime. They're now a very important 1-7. And before we get into what's trending here, well, actually, let's get into what's trending. I'll ask you that question.
Okay.
We'll do that. Because that's what we're talking about again. The Rockets evened up the series 95-92 at 2 games apiece in the Western Conference Finals. The amazing thing was the turnaround, actually in every quarter, but in the second half. Because the third quarter, after they were down at the half, Golden State came out and did what they always do.
Always do.
Plus 17, they're now plus 94 in the third quarter. Best in the postseason. You're thinking, okay, they got it. They had a little scare in the second quarter. They're back to being who they are. They're the big bad bullies on the block, the defending champs. They never lose at home. They strafed them in the third quarter. And Houston said, we don't care, and outscored them 25-12 in the fourth.
I'm just amazed at the 12 part of that.
Right.
Golden State only scored 12 points. This stat is amazing, too. Golden State has won 39 of 40 games when they've had at least a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The only loss, opening night, they were up 13 on the Houston Rockets.
There you go.
Going into the fourth quarter. And the Rockets came back and won on opening night. So that's the only one in 39 of 40. So, hey, Houston's done this before.
Old hat at this point. We're really coming right back to where this all started, which is great if you're Houston. If you're Golden State, this requires a lot of soul-searching now for a team that's as talented as maybe any we've seen in the history of the league and has a lot of accomplishment to match that and now has to turn around and very clearly see, all right, you're not as untouchable as you once thought. This isn't going to be as easy as you expected.
All right, so here's the question. So the way this game plays out,
right?
Does it give the Rockets more belief or the Warriors more doubt?
Oh, it gives the Rockets way more belief. Way more belief. Because if they went down 3-1, everybody knew it was over. This was as much an elimination game on their side of it as there is if it would have ended the series. Because nobody on God's green earth thinks that Golden State could be beat 3 games in a row.
Right.
And that's what would have had to been done had Houston lost this game. So I think it way gives them more belief that, hey, we got home court back. We need 2 more. They need 2 more. It's evened up there to where Golden State, listen, they're going to, would it shock anybody if they came out and won double digits the next 2 games and ended this series? It wouldn't shock me one bit.
No, it's given them no doubt. It's given them fuel. It's given them a reminder, and it's given them something to harness now into the next game, which this team we've seen needs. They need this kind of directive to stay focused.
Well, Michael Wilbon sort of alluded to that on PTI.
He did
after the game.
I thought he was right with what he said.
Yeah,
about comparing him to like a genius kid that kind of says, you know what?
Yeah.
I can take a couple days off here. I got everything under control.
I told you, they're millennials.
Yep, there you go.
That is a very good point. And we've hit the ramp. As we continue, well, Mike Golic, I know you don't believe in this, but apparently Aaron Judge does. The Yankees home run hitter told the New York Post on Tuesday he is out of the annual home run hitting contest scheduled for July 16th at Nationals Park in Washington during this year's All-Star Game festivities.
What a show he put on last year.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic. And there is no doubt we all remember what happened last year after it. As much as people want to put it on the swing you have in the home run derby, what it does for you, well, he absolutely had a slump after. Remember, he's pretty young in this league too, and maybe it was pitchers finding a different way to pitch to him, and then he figured that out and finished the season strong. But he's not going in it. He said no pressure. Pressure is not going to help. He's not doing it. It's a shame, but you can't tell me, and part of it in his mind is thinking, man, I slumped after this and I'm not doing it now. So the question, quite honestly, to me turns to, and I had heard Bryce Harper talk about this, it's going to be in Washington. It's his, he's the host. Going to be in that home run derby, let's hope, right?
Well, that's Mike D'Antoni who the pressure's on in this situation. Aaron Judge or Bryce Harper to do it in his hometown. Or really, Shohei Ohtani that we talked about.
Right.
Would Giancarlo Stanton be eligible, be someone interested in doing this to maybe get some good PR going back his way and get into the rhythm of things? All of those places where we can debate where the pressure lies.
It's a shame, though, that Aaron Judge isn't doing it, though. I mean, you just love seeing him knock that ball out of the park.
Well, he's one of the best at it. But again, right, the interesting thing was after the break, it was he and Giancarlo Stanton that were going at it at the home run derby. Didn't bother Stanton down the stretch a little bit, but it certainly bothered Aaron Judge. And so it's like that line from Bull Durham. If you think it's affecting you, it is. Or if you think you got a hitting streak or whatever because you're wearing women's underwear, then you are.
There you go.
You know? That was the line. So
I just did it because it was comfortable.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My mic was on.
Yes, it was.
And your son's right here.
Thought bubble. Well, you were there when you oiled him up.
You took the picture,
you've been down that road already.
Thank you for undoing what years of therapy have worked so hard to overcome.
Mike, you were there. You saw the whole thing
And
happen.
it was glorious.
And I mean the whole thing happened.
Whoa. We dump that sound?
Give John Gruden credit. Todd Bowles, the Jets head coach, announced that he made a trade. Post-practice, Christian Hackenberg, the quarterback, second-round pick at Penn State, was traded to the Raiders for a 2019 conditional draft pick. Hackenberg was absolutely a non-factor the entire time in his Jets career.
Well, listen.
Turn your mic on. You are a professional.
Long streak of not having that done. Long streak.
Buddy.
And I deserved it. Hackenberg could not have packed quick enough to get out of Dodge. I don't know if he'll ever turn into any type of a quarterback that will make any impression on the field at all. But we know it wasn't happening in New York. I mean, not at all. So he just, from a chance standpoint, and I'm sure he still has the confidence that he can play. And now, you want to talk about the grass is greener. He's at least going somewhere where there's grass. I mean, he was on concrete. I mean, there was nothing going on in him for New York. He could not have gotten out of there fast enough. And a lot of people don't think he's ever going to make it, and he may not, but at least now he's got to have a little bit of, okay, new place, new team. Maybe I can show a little more here.
It's weird. Christian Hackenberg kind of had all of the mixture of a lot of this year's products in his college career. He came in and started off with the fanfare of a Josh Rosen and all the expectation after his freshman year. He was still talked about as maybe an upside guy, especially in the second round where the Jets got him. And just seeing that not only never pan out, but never even getting a chance for us on the outside to see it potentially pan out. There must have been some serious issues behind closed doors if in that quarterback room with how volatile it was the last couple of years to not be able to crack the lineup.
You want to talk about a team where you could get a chance to play some quarterback and he never saw the field in 2 seasons. I mean, are you kidding me? You're right. What had to be going on in the meeting rooms and at practice to have no confidence in a guy to put him out on the field in that horrific of a situation is something.
Well, what do they say to writers? Write what you know. Apparently, that's exactly the adaptation that John Gruden, the Raiders head coach, is taking. Quarterback and coach who you know. Every single quarterback on his roster now has been through the John Gruden quarterback camp leading up to the draft.
There you go.
So he feels like, I know these guys a little bit. I think I know what I can do with them. Every single quarterback on his roster has now gone through the John
he's a
Gruden
quarterback guy.
camp.
I mean, no doubt about it. So Hackenberg's got to believe he's going to get, decent look.
I believe Amin El-Hassan would say that this is the, as you would call him, Doc Clippers method of acquiring players.
There you go.
Has he played for me before, or is he related to me? The method of acquisition for the Clippers.
Doc Clippers!
There it is. Thank you. Before he came and joined us at ESPN during the draft, at one time he drafts quarterbacks all the time.
Yes, he does.
And I said, John Gruden, quarterbacks are like stamps. He just likes to collect them and sees how it plays out. So we'll see. Look, Derek Carr's the guy. Let's not be clear about it.
Exactly.
There's no debate there, but he wants what he knows. And Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever. And what we don't know now is the new kickoff rule. NFL meetings are going on in Dallas today. There was Atlanta. I'm sorry, in Atlanta. A lot happening, and we'll dive into what will happen and could happen later on today, a little bit later on this show. But we now have new rules in effect when it comes to kickoffs in the NFL. Basically, the primary rule changes include an elimination of those running starts for kickoff coverage teams, a requirement that 8 of the 11 men on the return team must be aligned in the setup zone, in other words, within 15 yards of the ball. There is no blocking within the setup zone until after the ball touches the ground if it is not first caught. It's the elimination of all wedge blocking. Now, you used to have 4 men, then 3 men. Now it's a 2-man wedge. Right. That's gone. Kickoff teams must have 5 men lined up on either side of the ball, a move that will limit schemes designed to get free runners and coverage downfield. So essentially what they're doing, Mike and other Mike, not say Mike and Mike, is that basically they're trying to make it more like a punt coverage than kick coverage.
Right. And we had Lorenzo Alexander on from the Buffalo Bills. He's been in this league a long time, and he made a lot of his bones as a special teamer.
Right.
He had this idea a little while ago.
So kudos to Lorenzo Alexander. When we had him on the show earlier this year, this is basically what he said, and it's essentially what the NFL adopted.
There's different ways. If you make that more into a punt style thing, now we're kind of running alongside each other, and you're more body blocking and trying to press guys out and get positioned that way. You can kind of eliminate some of those high impact shots that some guys are taking, just sitting there trying to absorb and take a charge, which you're taught to do, and try to prevent the guy from making a tackle.
Yeah, I don't mind this, Mike. When you were at Pittsburgh, you were part of that 2-man. You were
part of the 2-man
wedge. And I'm sure you're happy that it would be gone for those guys.
All the way up out of here.
Yeah,
listen,
it's we know where this is leading to. If some of these changes don't work, they're going to get rid of the kickoff. I mean, because when you track, and it's easy to track the injuries, when you're seeing a decent amount of your injuries happen on these type of plays, you either try and improve them or make them so they're going to be less these crash dummy test shots. Or test dummies, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Crash dummy.
Crash test dummies.
To try and get that out of the game. And it is more like a punt, more like running alongside of a guy and shouldering a guy. Now, the issue is going to be if somebody on the kickoff team who now has to line up where the ball is and doesn't get a running head start, what if they still get by that guy? Then they're still running free, and there is still the potential for a big hit. But you can't completely take it away. You can try and put it in a position where there's less of that. As I've always said about this, as the game has tried to be made safer, the game is never going to be safer. You can try and make it safer with some of the things you do, whether it's practice things or
what was that? Safer?
Safer.
Then you said safer.
Safer.
Then you said safer.
You said safer.
I said safer.
And then you said
you never make it safer.
You never make it safer. Safer.
Safer.
Safe. Okay, never.
All right, coming up next, safer or safer?
Do we go?
Here on Golic and Wingo.
Safer.
You know what I meant.
This is the pettiest. This is the pettiest group of people.
I have actually said that before on the show, and that part was not brought up anymore.
It
is the pettiest show there is out there.
It is.
Hey, we are who we are, baby. Yeah. We revel in it.
To the point of safety. They've gone about trying to limit the collisions on kickoff by trying to limit the amount of kickoffs, encouraging touchbacks, moving up the kickoff spot. This actually, and we saw this tide change from people who realized, all right, we can benefit by our kickers trying to place the ball outside of the end zone to try and encourage returns so we can pin guys back.
Right.
Now, this is going to be an interesting, because this, in theory, puts the advantage back on the side of the return team, because now you've got your guys getting on blocks much quicker in this process. You're, in theory, giving your returner a lot more room. So this play becomes more interesting all of a sudden. Now, are you back to really trying to boot the ball out of the end zone every time? Is there an advantage to putting the ball out in play at this point? And will that ultimately go further in accomplishing what the NFL wants?
It will get figured out. We know that, because that's exactly what we thought would happen last year. Hey, kicker, kick it to the 2-yard line outside the hash. Okay, and now we think we can pin him inside the 20, and it went against what they were trying to do. You're right, Mike, in that. So we'll see where this goes. They'll track it all. We'll still have more touchbacks, I'm sure, than we will returns, but will there be less violent collisions?
Yeah, that's what they're hoping for. And then as we continue here on Golic and Wingo talking about the NFL rule changes pertaining to the kickoff, it's going to look a lot more like a punt where there's shielding and there's not those big running collisions. But I thought this was interesting in the change that also was adopted. It didn't get much attention. If a ball gets to the end zone and touches the ground, it's an automatic touchback. There's no longer a need for a player to pick it up and kneel or even catch the ball if it's headed for the end zone and they don't intend to return it. It's a small time saver, but the goal is to blow a play dead earlier so that also unnecessary collisions don't happen. Under the previous rules, a player could take their time gathering the ball and kneeling while the coverage team and return blockers still go toward each other for no reason. I thought that was also interesting. Just another little level that was sort of buried in everything else that they're trying to do. Say, let's take these hits that aren't necessary out of the game.
It's college rule. This happens in college. The ball, they don't have to catch it in the end zone. Ball hits in the end zone. It's an automatic touchback as well.
This is a nice area that the NFL, in a rare moment amongst all of these offseason changes, was clear and it made sense. The rest of what is being discussed and the rest of the changes being floated out here are anything but.
Yeah.
Well, then there's the other thing that moving forward, all ejections will be reviewed to confirm they were actually the result of flagrant acts. So essentially what they're doing here is they're trying to adapt another college rule, which is targeting, and then making sure that it actually was targeting. But we've seen that not work sometimes in college football, right?
Yeah, we absolutely have. They're going by the letter of the law, and they have some of the way the rule is written out. You have to be unobstructed to that ball carrier. You have to be able to have a different option to hit, and you can't be like straight as an arrow with your head down. So there are some prerequisites when they look at it, but you had the stat. I've heard this stat before, Mike. I mean, of the number of plays they looked at and the number of actual ejections that would have happened last year.
This is the confusing part because the NFL Football Operations Twitter account did a great job. They put out not only the rule changes, but what you were looking for, the instructional videos.
They put out videos.
You got the videos, you got diagrams showing exactly what you expected, but then you got a lot of conflict in my mind because we heard the stat. Troy Vincent tweeted this out when it talked about the ejections under the new lowering the helmet rule.
Troy works with the league now.
Said they looked at 40,000 plays last year that would have fallen under this and said only 3 instances would have resulted in an ejection. So we've got that, and then you couple this with the later admission that NFL confirms that linemen coming out of their stance are subject to this new lowering the helmet rule. So let me get this straight. You have taken all of that into account. You have taken linemen into account and said no one is off limits with this new rule.
Yes.
And yet in the same breath, you've said, well, this only occurred 3 out of 40,000 times last year.
And none of them were the linemen.
Correct. You saw it was the Danny Trevathan hits. It was all the ones that you expect.
Right.
So what are we actually doing here? And I hear you talk about this in the realm of labor agreements all the time in the CBA. You don't want to make decisions that are based on the actions of a very limited few. And yet it seems like we have rolled out a complicated headline-driven rule here on the basis of eliminating 3 instances in 40,000. It just doesn't make sense why all of this news has surrounded something that is so minimally occurring.
Why, Trey?
Because perception.
Yep.
Perception. That's exactly what. Look, remember when they announced that rule to begin with, and we're like, well, we'll figure it out as we go along. I think Kevin Seifert from ESPN.com did a deep dive, and they concluded they could have made that call as it was first announced to us on almost every play. And then, of course, there was a little refining and redefinition. But you're right. If they do that, games will take 73 hours to play.
Yeah. So we have to see how it's going to be officiated. I saw an article yesterday, some guy saying that offensive linemen are going to have to change the way they block, which I thought was ridiculous.
Again, I mean, if it's 3 in 40,000 instances, no one is going to have to change the way they do anything.
That's exactly right. I read that, and it's like they're going to change the way. I said, are you kidding? No, they're not. I said, the only way it affects an O-lineman can be if he pulls and is out in open space and dives at somebody. But even a lot of times there, they dive and leave with their hands as well. I mean, but to your point, they looked at all these plays from last year, and only 3, even all the lineman plays, resulted in ejection. So I agree with Trey. This is about, hey, there's head injuries out there. We're doing more research about it. We're finding out more about it. But in that time, we're going to make this game safer. We're going to enforce a lot of these things. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. What are we enforcing here?
So this should be insulting to our intelligence, right? The idea that we can't see through this for what it is?
Well, no. Look, I don't think. Look, I don't think they're worried about us. Okay, I don't think any of that is worried about the people that are in the sport.
No, I'm talking about just fans of the sport.
Yeah. And I think that they're not worried so much about fans that are in the sport. To me, when I see all this, this is to make sure this is a message to the people that have doubts about the sport, that have questions about the sport, that parents who have maybe a question about whether or not we want my son to go. To me, that's where this rule is talking about.
You know what? Actually, and I just had this epiphany now sitting here talking to you guys, this is genius because you know what the NFL realizes? No one's going to take the time to read or learn about the rest of this stuff. We read headlines now. That's the same reason they're in all that trouble with the concussion lawsuit because no one decides to read the rest of the studies or report. They're just going to grab a headline. That's what we do with everything now. We read, we believe, and then we question later on if it suits our needs.
So again, to me, it's what do we see early in this? What do we see early in preseason?
How quickly will it be called?
Because I think in the regular season, you're going to see the exact same plays called that we saw. The DBs coming and hitting the receivers, the quarterback getting hit, all those same calls you see. But I wonder if early on in preseason, they're going to throw flags. If an O-lineman, if it looked close, they're going to throw a flag on him, say you can't do that to show that they're trying to enforce it all. But as we've seen, 40,000 plays, 3 ejections.
Yeah, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like a home plate umpire's equivalent of a strike zone. Okay, you want to know what the strike zone is? Tell me what I can do. Tell me what I can't do. And we've had officials every year working on NFL Live. We get the head of the officiating crew comes here to Bristol, and we talk about it and say, look, we're going to throw a lot more flags in the preseason on these plays. So once the regular season starts, the players will know what we're looking for and what they can and can't do. So you're going to see a ton of flags right now in preseason games, thus making preseason games even more watchable for people that have to buy those tickets. But that's how this is going to be played out. And then when the regular season rolls around, probably won't be much different at all in terms of that specific rule. Well, there is still one burning question that we're trying to get the answer to out of Game 4 in the Western Conference Finals, and it's simply this. Why didn't Kevin Durant take that shot in the final 3.5 minutes, or take a shot in the final 3.5 minutes, including the one that he passed up with 12 seconds to go?
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Your street credit's through the roof right now.
Seriously.
I want you to know that.
All right.
Major swag. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our next guest. At 7:30 on a Wednesday, it's time to go on a booze cruise. So we're delighted to be joined by two-time NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Carlos, I guess I should ask you if you're okay with me calling this a booze cruise before I just do it. You're fine with this, right?
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Just wanted to make sure.
You know who the captain that meets you on this booze cruise is? Mike D'Antoni.
There you go. So we tend to think that Mike D'Antoni, not that he is, but he always sounds like he's maybe had one or two. He's very relaxed.
Yes,
and very
he is.
mellow at the
way things well.
The way he delivers. So Carlos, it's a very good morning in Houston. It is not such a good morning in Golden State. What was the biggest takeaway from the amazing second half in that game where it went back and forth, a complete 180 in the third and fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think you just got to contribute to their defense. I mean, you think about it, they give up 34 points in the third quarter and only 12 in the fourth quarter. And that's the game right there. And obviously, Houston needed that win very badly because we all think if they go down 3-1, this series is over. But holding Golden State to 12 points in the fourth quarter, that's incredible defense.
How difficult is it, Carlos, over the entirety of the game to do what they did with basically 6 guys? 7 played, but a 7th only played for 11 minutes. So basically this is done with 6 players.
Yeah, D'Antoni was like, listen, I'm going with my top 6 guys. It's win or nothing. At the end of the day, if they lose, like I said, they go down 3-1, we all think this series is over. So he's rolling with those guys. James Harden played great. Chris Paul was amazing. I thought Gordon did a great job. I thought those guys did a really good job out there, especially by mainly defensively. I'm just really impressed by the job they're doing on Klay Thompson. I know he's a little banged up, but he really hasn't had a huge series.
Talking to Carlos Boozer on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Carlos, a lot of people have cited this Warriors team saying they look distracted or disinterested at certain times. How do you feel watching this group who's got this limitless potential that has fallen short now a couple times?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that. I think they got to give credit to Houston. I think they're playing against a very good team. I think this is one of those matchups that we all look forward to the whole season long to see what would happen in the Western Conference Finals. And we're getting it. We're getting 2 great teams going at it. Kevin Durant and James Harden are playing terrific. Steph Curry's back on top of his game. Chris Paul's playing very good. And they're fighting it out to get to the finals. I don't think they're disinterested. I think they're very interested. But let's not forget, there was no Andre Iguodala last night, and that played a huge part in this game.
Well, it certainly did, as we're talking to Carlos Boozer. But as Senior pointed out, I mean, the Warriors won by essentially playing 6 players. So, I mean, is Andre the Rockets,
yeah.
the Rockets, yeah. So
The Rockets.
yeah.
Rockets,
So
yeah.
is Andre Iguodala the secret sauce here? Is that what we're trying to say? If they don't have him, they can't beat the Rockets?
No, I'm not saying that, but his versatility gives so much to that team. It gives Steph a chance to rest a little bit on defense and guard somebody else. It gives KD a chance to rest on offense and guard somebody else. And offensively, he makes plays just like Draymond Green did. He's one of those triple threat guys that could score, pass, dribble, make plays. And him not being out there, I think, played a huge part in the fourth quarter because they needed more offense last night. Obviously, only having 12 points in that fourth quarter is the reason why they lost the game. Not giving Houston a lot of credit there. But having Iguodala, a Finals MVP, he's not afraid of the pressure moments. I mean, anybody would like a guy like that on your team.
How does what most people believe is the second best player in the league in Kevin Durant not get a shot off in the final 3 minutes and 47 seconds of this game?
Yeah, that's tough for me. I mean, just if he's on my team, we got to find a way. I don't know how we got to run plays for him, set picks for him, put him in the post where he's been very, very efficient this year. You got to have a shot by Kevin Durant in the last few minutes of the game. You got to give him a chance to be effective and put pressure on that defense.
Carlos Boozer, 2-time NBA All-Star, with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So now as this series shifts back to Houston, how do you handicap this next game? What do you expect out of Golden State in response to this?
Yeah, I think they got to put together a 48-minute game. You know, obviously, they're huge. Well, as we know, they're always huge in the first and always huge in the third quarters. But they got to put together a good second and fourth quarters. You look at the second quarter of last night, they weren't very good. Houston outscored them majorly in the second quarter last night, and again, majorly again in the fourth quarter. And that's something they got to focus on. I don't see Kirby having them watch tape as if I'm out there on the plane all day today. They got to find ways to score. They can't have these huge gaps. They score 34 points, then 14, then 34 points, then 12. That's not going to be able to get it done in Houston, especially.
Carlos Boozer with us, 2-time NBA All-Star, and again, reminding everybody the NBA Eastern Conference Finals and every playoff game going forward is on ESPN Radio. Game 5 tonight, Celtics host LeBron and the Cavs, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. All right, Carlos, let me ask you this question. You've seen Rocky 4, right?
Of course.
Ivan Drago, he's bleeding. You've seen the movie Predator, right? If it bleeds, we can kill it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, the Infinity Stone for the Golden State Warriors had been, we don't lose at home. They'd won 16 straight home playoff games. The last time they lost a home playoff game, Kevin Durant wasn't on that team, and it took Kyrie Irving and LeBron James to do it in Game 7 of the NBA Finals that year. Now that they've sort of been punched in the mouth by the Houston Rockets and their invincibility was taken away, does it create more doubt for Golden State or more belief for Houston that, hey, we can do this?
Right, so Golden State is no longer the Avengers, right?
Exactly.
No, I really do think that Houston has got to be walking away with this smiling. You saw Chris Paul super happy move last night. I think at the end of the day, the rest of the team believes now. The others, the other guys, they haven't really played that much, but the Gerald Greens, the other guys, really believe now that they can win. They can win this series. I think before this game, after you get blown out by 41, this doubt starts to creep into some of the other guys. And I think the way that Chris Paul and James Harden led those guys to victory, it gives hope for the rest of Houston Nation. So, but the flip side of that coin, and there's always two sides to a coin, Golden State's got to be extremely motivated because they didn't play very well, especially in that fourth quarter. Like you said, Kevin Durant didn't get a shot off in the last 3 minutes of that game. And again, Klay Thompson really hasn't had a huge series for his level. His standard, his level, he hasn't played like Klay Thompson. I expect him to come out with a lot of offensive thrusts coming in the Game 5 out there in Houston, and it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick Golden State to beat them after coming up short right there. But I really think Golden State comes out in Game 5.
And speaking of Game 5 tonight in Boston, how do you see that game playing out?
Yeah, it's been an interesting series, but the home team has won every game, and I kind of expect to see that happen as well. Even though the Cavs did a great job of winning Game 4, and LeBron was obviously outstanding. He's an alien, of course, or also an Avenger. But I thought Boston played very well, to be honest, man. I didn't think they gave up. I can't remember the exact number, but I want to say it was like 5, 6, 7 dunks and layups that they missed, free throws. I feel like they played really bad, and even though Cleveland was in control of Game 4, it just felt like Boston always had a chance to get back into it. So I feel like Boston comes away with Game 5. I think the series goes 7.
Well, look, and now we have the possibility that they both may go 7, which will be really, really interesting. Hey, you know what today is? Living proof that it's never too early for a little booze cruise.
There you go.
With our guy, Carlos Boozer. Hey, Carlos, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Carlos.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
He's the best.
And I also think you have now set the bar for a question at how many movie references in one question can you get to? You're at 3.
Yeah.
You went Rocky, Predators, and Avengers.
Not bad, right?
By the way, it's Infinity Gauntlet. It's a fine.
No, it's Infinity Stone.
Yeah, I know it, but you have 6 stones on one gauntlet.
Yes.
So
and what are those stones called?
You're referencing the gauntlet, though.
No,
I'm just telling you, in your reference, you mean the gauntlet.
I was referencing the Infinity Stone.
Yeah, I'm telling you mean the gauntlet.
I don't.
It's okay.
I meant the Infinity Stone.
You actually did mean the gauntlet.
I didn't mean the gauntlet. I didn't mean the gauntlet.
We should probably
break.
Infinity
Yeah,
Stone.
we probably should.
You know what?
You really made me take
I meant the Infinity Stone. Book it. Hey!
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
This is an interesting phenomenon I stumbled upon that if you just add book it to the end of any phrase, the shorter the better, it makes it immediately a hot take.
Owen says, Jaguars win the Super Bowl, book it.
I like Tim's poutine.
Book it. Man, that's a strong point from Tim.
That is. LeBron is Toronto's kryptonite.
No.
Book it.
I like Steve's better. Josh Allen will break a table before the season starts. # Bills Mafia. Book it. We've got some statements here. I'm going to read to you guys some potential book it's.
Okay.
And you are going to have the option to either book it yourself and agree or go against and explain why you don't think that take holds up.
If we don't book it, what do we say?
Just
no
say we're
book
not
it?
booking it. We're not
I'm
booking
not
it.
booking it.
Okay.
And so if you do book it, just give them a moment and we'll have a way to mark that.
Oh, we're going to get
with
one
our
right
board
away
output.
here. I'll tell you that right now.
You
Let's
guys
go.
good? You understand?
We're
We
ready.
hand you the
We're
Infinity
ready.
Stone?
Yeah, it's
All
a
right.
gauntlet, really.
Yeah, no, it's... All right. First up, LeBron James will return to the finals for an 8th straight season. Book it.
Absolutely book it.
You can book it.
Ooh.
Book it, book it, book it. LeBron, he is going back. They're going to win tonight in Boston and maybe even close this thing out at home in 6. I still think it may go 7. We'll see. But he is going back to his 8th straight final without question. He's got it going on. Either one of his teammates, I don't know who's going to be the one to bring it along, but they're starting to do it. Book it. They're going back.
By the way, in the break, Senior says, hey, go short on your answers so we get through all of this.
10
and
seconds.
then you went through a diatribe.
That was 10
Book
seconds.
it. You had no idea what you were doing. I'm going to say I would love to wait till I see how this game plays out.
But you
because
can't.
This is the first pucker game for the Celtics. It really is in the entire postseason. But I'm with you. Book it. LeBron is back
You
to the
can
finals.
book it.
Got to let the sounder hit.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. We got 2 buckets there. I'm with you guys. I'm with you, actually. I picked this game, the series in 6 to start. I think they get the win on the road tonight, close out at home where the Celtics cannot physically win on the road. All right. Kickoffs will be eliminated from the NFL by 2020, coming off the rule change in play at the owners' meetings right now. Book it?
I don't think so. Down the road, maybe a little more down the road, we'll see. But I'm interested to see where this new rule change comes into play with the more shouldering than the big blocks. But I'm not going to book that one.
That was the sounder for not book it?
Yes, it was.
That was terrible. How about we just do...
I
I'm
like
going
theirs
to say not book it as well because I believe they've done enough to sort of get rid of the things that they're trying to get rid of. So I think kickoffs will hang around for a while.
Yeah, the last time they really changed up the rule, 2010 was the last year.
Good year.
With the kickoff at the 30-yard line, just 16% of kickoffs resulted in touchbacks. That jumped to 44% the next year when they changed that.
We are
up.
the pettiest show in radio. Book it.
By
Really
far,
are.
you can
Really
book
are.
that for sure.
Yeah.
You can book it.
All right. Trey's favorite 2 words in sports. Game 7.
Yeah.
Once the Capitals lose Game 7 tonight to the Lightning, Washington, D.C. will officially be the most cursed sports city in the country. Book it?
Book it.
You can book it.
Wow. I mean, it's been a long, long time since that city has seen a championship in the 4 majors. What, we're going back to the 91 Redskins, correct?
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah, and I don't see a lot of hope for them tonight. We'll see. All the numbers are against them. wait till it plays out, obviously. But if they lose it tonight, you can book that.
I'm just saying they haven't won a championship since Mark Schlereth left the Redskins. Just throwing it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say if it happens, book it.
You can book it.
But I'm hoping it doesn't happen because I have so many Capitals and Washington area fans that would just be devastated if this goes their way again.
We don't really care about
against
them.
That's also a fair point.
Yeah. All right, I feel like you're going to love this one, Trey.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh won't be coaching Michigan in 2019 if he doesn't beat Ohio State in this November. Book it?
No, I'm not going to book that. I'm sorry. I'm not. Listen, he hasn't beaten Ohio State yet. He's beaten Michigan State once, so he's 1-6 between those teams in the 3 years. And we need to get into the other topic of the possibility of a lifetime coaching contract is ridiculous, by the way. But as far as this is concerned, no, I am not going to book this. I don't think he'll be gone if he loses Ohio State again this year.
I think they should book it.
You can book it.
But I don't think it will be booked.
You just wanted to play the sounder.
That's true. Look,
that's fair.
The only other coach to start his career 0-3 against Ohio State was Rich Rodriguez. You know what he didn't get? A fourth season. So he's 0-3 against Ohio State, has only beaten Michigan State once, and we're talking about the possibility of a lifetime contract? That is ridiculous. I mean, these trips to Paris and Rome and now South Africa, apparently they care more about that than beating your rivals at Michigan right now. It's ridiculous.
That is true. He's also, I think, one of 3 coaches in Big Ten history to start off with 2 back-to-back 10-win seasons. So there's a lot of good to go with this. And we say
he's never finished better than 3rd in his own division.
We say beating Ohio State like Urban Meyer isn't an all-time great in the coaching game. This is a team in the East going up against LeBron James in its own right here. So while the lifetime contract might be a stretch, Jim Harbaugh's tenure past 2019, not a stretch. All right, quick one on this one. The Dallas Cowboys will never win another Super Bowl with Jerry Jones running the ship. Book it?
I'm not going to book that. I like the quarterback, the running back, the offensive line. I like all of them. The defense, the pass rush is getting better, and every year is obviously a different year in the NFL. They cook pull one off.
I'm going to say book it.
You can book
and
it.
I'll tell you why. Because Jerry Jones is also the general manager, and the only person that fires the general manager is the owner. And while they have good coaches and there's people around him, until Jerry Jones does what Robert Kraft did until he got involved in the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, which is let football people run football, the Cowboys will never win another Super Bowl. You didn't want to get this last
one in? Is that what's going on?
No, go ahead.
What, we got 10 seconds? Really?
10 seconds.
Really? That's
sufficient.
what you want to do?
Aaron Judge won't defend his home run derby title because he knows how it affected his swing in the second half. Book it.
You can book it.
There you go. How hard was that? You just need a little effort. Coming up, the NFL owners having a conversation today that everybody's going to be talking about. You can book it. Stay with us.